Something extraordinary just happened in the world of women's tennis, and if you blinked, you might have missed exactly why it matters. Not just the result itself, but the ripple effect, the chain reaction that is now forcing every analyst, every coach, and every top player on the WTA Tour to sit up straight and take serious notice of a 19-year-old girl from the Philippines named Alex. Stay with me here, because this story has layers, and every single layer is more fascinating than the last. To understand what is happening right now, we need to go back to Madrid. The Mutua Madrid Open, one of the most prestigious clay court events on the entire tour. Coming into this tournament, Aryna Sabalenka was not just the favorite. She was something closer to inevitable. 3 titles in Madrid, a 15-match winning streak, a defending champion who had not tasted defeat since the Australian Open final 3 months ago. She was playing with that terrifying brand of tennis where every ground stroke feels like a warning shot and every serve sounds like a thunderclap. Players were not just losing to her. They were being broken by her. And then Eala Baptiste happened. The 24-year-old American, ranked 30th in the world, walked onto Manolo Santana's center court and did something that almost nobody thought was possible. She beat Sabalenka. Not in some scrappy, lucky, barely hanging on kind of way either. She beat her in a war. A 2-hour and 30-minute 3-set battle that had everyone watching completely on the edge of their seats. The scoreline was 2-6, 6-2, 7-6, and the tiebreak alone was the kind of stuff that gets replayed for years. Because here's the detail that makes this story almost cinematic. Sabalenka had 6 match points. 6 separate moments where she was one shot away from ending it and moving on. Baptiste saved 5 of them in a single game, firing aces, rushing the net on match point with a serve and volley that took unbelievable nerve, and eventually taking that tiebreak 8-6. It was the biggest win of Baptiste's career. A legitimate statement victory that sent the tennis world into a frenzy. Commentators were losing their minds. Social media was absolutely on fire. And honestly, it deserved every bit of that reaction because defeating a player like Sabalenka, especially on clay, especially after facing 6 match points, is the kind of performance that defines careers. But here's where the story stops being just about Baptiste and starts being about something much bigger. Here is where it gets genuinely fascinating. While the world was busy celebrating this massive upset, a specific group of tennis fans and analysts started quietly connecting some very importance. They started asking a question that, once you hear it, you simply cannot unhear. Who beat Eala Baptiste just a few weeks before all of this happened? The answer is Alex. Back in February at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships, a 19-year-old Filipina stepped onto the court against Baptiste in the first round and did not flinch for a single second. Alex took the first set 6-4, dictating the pace of the match from the very first game, handling Baptiste's enormous ground strokes with a composure that most veterans twice her age would struggle to find. She was not just hanging in there. She was in control. And the physical demand she imposed on Baptiste throughout that set was so relentless, so exhausting, that by the time the second set began, Baptiste had nothing left. She retired early in that second set with an abdominal injury, and while injuries are never how anyone wants to win, the reality of what Alex produced in that first set cannot be dismissed or minimized. She outplayed her, cleanly, confidently, and on the biggest shots when it mattered most. Now sit with that for a moment. Really let it sink in. Baptiste just defeated the world number 1. A player who has dominated women's tennis for the better part of a year, a player with 3 Madrid titles, a 15-match winning streak, 6 match points in the decisive tiebreak. And the woman who beat Baptiste, who physically dismantled her baseline game and forced her off the court, was Alex. That transitive connection is not some superficial internet talking point. It is a legitimate window into just how elite Alex's level already is. The tennis community is waking up to something that a smaller group of people have known for a while now. This girl is not a future star. She is a present one. Let's actually break down how Alex won that match, because the tactics involved reveal so much about who she is as a player. The opening game of that set was already a statement. 7 deuces. A grinding, scrappy, physically intense battle that set the tone for everything that followed. Baptiste came out doing exactly what she always does. driving flat, heavy balls deep into the court, trying to overwhelm her opponent before they can settle into any kind of rhythm. It is the same aggressive formula that later gave Sabalenka genuine problems in Madrid. But Alex handled it differently than most players would. She did not try to outpower Baptiste. She did not go stroke for stroke in some flat ball slugfest. Instead, she used her left-handed forehand, this heavily spun, high-bouncing weapon that she has clearly developed with real intention at the Rafa Nadal Academy, to absorb the pace and redirect it back with interest. The geometry she creates with that shot is genuinely special. She pulls opponents off the court, opens up down the line angles, and turns what should be a neutral rally into an offensive opportunity. And she does it while moving beautifully. Her footwork in that match was something to watch. Early in the set, Alex found herself down a break at 1-2. For a teenager facing a heavy hitter in a professional first-round match, that is exactly the kind of moment where nerves can take over and a set can slip away before you even realize what happened. Alex did not let that happen. She broke right back, leveled the score at 2-2, built her way to 3-2, and never really looked back. The mental composure she showed in those moments is not something you can coach in the traditional sense. You can develop it, you can train under pressure, but ultimately it has to come from somewhere inside the player. And Alex clearly has it in abundance. The set point that closed out that first set told you everything you need to know about her confidence. Up 5-4, with Baptiste serving to stay in the set, Alex constructed the point with patience and then ended it with a forehand cross-court winner that was hit with the kind of conviction you associate with top 10 players. Flat-footed does not even begin to describe how Baptiste looked in that moment. It was a shot that said, "I belong here." No hesitation, no second-guessing, just pure execution under pressure. When you compare how Sabalenka and Baptiste match up tactically, and then overlay Alex into that picture, a really interesting portrait starts to emerge. Sabalenka's game is built on power. She overwhelms people. She hits the ball harder than almost anyone on tour, and she does it consistently, point after point, game after game. When Baptiste met that power with her own aggression and an even bigger, more reckless serve, Sabalenka had no comfortable answer. The power levels were equalized, and Baptiste had the edge on that particular day in that particular match. Alex is a completely different tactical challenge. She is a counterpuncher who can transition into full aggression the moment an opportunity appears. She absorbs pace the way certain players seem to absorb everything, turning what should be a losing position into a setup for something dangerous. Her backhand down the line is increasingly reliable as a weapon. Her defense in the corners can turn scrambling into offense within 2 shots. And her emotional reset between points is something that experienced players spend entire careers trying to master.
She moves on.
She does not carry a bad point into the next one. That is a rare quality at any age, but at 19 it is almost startling to witness. It is also worth noting the broader context of where women's tennis is right now, because it makes Alex's position in this moment even more compelling. The tour is in the middle of a genuine youth movement. Mira Andreeva, also 19, is making deep runs at major events. Young Czech players are pushing into the rankings. The margins between the established stars and the hungry newcomers are getting thinner by the month. This is the exact environment where a player like Alex can make a rapid and dramatic leap. She already has the junior credentials, the academy training, and the competitive instincts. What she is accumulating now is match experience at the highest level, the kind of database of feelings and situations that cannot be simulated in practice. Every tight third set, every big match point, every moment of early pressure adds to that database. And the returns on that investment are already becoming visible. Yes, there have been some difficult stretches. Losses against experienced clay court players during the European swing are part of the process. Nobody develops in a straight line upward. Tennis careers look more like a heartbeat monitor than a clean diagonal, all peaks and valleys with the overall trajectory pointing somewhere significant. What the Baptiste match in Dubai proved, and what the events of this week have now amplified into a global conversation, is that Alex's ceiling is not just high. It is Grand Slam high. When she is locked in, when her forehand is landing deep and heavy and her footwork is clicking and her mind is calm, she is a nightmare matchup for literally anyone on this tour. The physicality of her game is underrated. The way she exhausted Baptiste, wore her down through relentless depth and side-to-side movement, that is not just skillful, that is physically demanding to produce. She is doing it against players with top 30 rankings, and she is doing it at 19 years old on the biggest stages of her career so far. And there is something genuinely moving about what this all means beyond the rankings and the statistics. The Philippines has waited a long time for this moment. Tennis is a deeply passionate sport in that country, and the idea of having a homegrown player competing at the genuine elite level, not just making up the numbers, but actually threatening the very best in the world, is something that carries real weight. Alex is not carrying that expectation as a burden. She seems to carry it as fuel. Every time she steps on court, there is a sense of purpose in the way she competes, a seriousness that coexists naturally with the kind of freedom that great athletes play with when they are truly in their element. As Roland Garros approaches and then Wimbledon after that, the attention on Alex is only going to grow. The tennis world has just been handed a very clear reminder of what she is capable of, and people have long memories for this kind of thing. Opponents will prepare differently for her now. They will study her serve patterns, her forehand tendencies, her movement on both wings. That is what happens when you cross a certain threshold of recognition. It is a new kind of challenge, and honestly, it feels like exactly the kind of challenge that will bring the best out of her. Because everything we have seen from Alex suggests she rises to these.